Hello everybody, in this video I will explain how I color under an underpainting such as grayscale, red scale. So please keep watching and I really hope you can learn something out of this video. So I want to begin by explaining what an underpainting is, and it's basically just like the foundation or base drawing before you do add like the colors and all the rendering. It's like the skeleton of your drawing, I guess like a guide before you begin doing everything on top of it. I like to draw with this brownish color. You can use any color as long as at the end you turn it into like a red color. You can do that using curves and setting it to red and just adjusting it to just like this shade of red here. Okay, so after I've finished the underpainting and I've set it to a red shade, I set the layer to linear burn and I add a new layer, move that new layer under it. And this layer I'm gonna name skin. One thing you'll notice when trying to choose colors on an underpainting drawing is you have to go a bit lighter than usual. I'll show some examples here with some different skin tones. So the way that I go about choosing the color is I like to go just right in the middle, not too light, not too dark, so that when I add more shading, I don't have to go too dark with the shading, and when I begin rendering on top of the underpainting, that's when I can add my lighter values. Okay, so next, after you're satisfied with the skin color, you can add another layer on top of that one. I'm going to rename this one, and this one is going to be for the eyes. So I'm gonna begin by choosing the white of the eyes, and by white of the eyes I actually mean blue. So the reason that I choose this bluish grayish color is because when you use something like pure white, it tends to make it look a bit unnatural. It makes it look pretty scary or unfinished, I would say. And then I like to grab a blender tool and kind of just blend out some of the harsher edges. Okay, so next it's time to choose the eye color. I'm gonna just set that onto a different layer, rename that to eye color or just color. So I'm just going to be choosing random colors for this character. So I went with the color red for her iris. And so I'm going to begin just filling the entire iris out. So after I filled out where I want the color of the iris, I'm going to blend out the harsh edges again so everything can kind of melt together. I'm going to be adding some more values to the shading. I like to do that with usually a blue color. I think a lot of people tend to go for just the skin tone but darker. So like for instance, a lot of people would go for more like a really deep orange color here. Some people like to use purple. I like to use blue. I guess that's more like the sun reflecting on the skin. So you can also just use colors depending on the environment that your character may be in. I'm going to begin adding the blue into the areas of the face where I do want to intensify the darker values and where some of the environmental light will show on her skin. Here I'm also duplicating that layer to intensify the darkness, and then on a new layer I will begin adding blush to her face to add a bit of life. Picking your blush color will vary by skin tone. Here I think a nice pink blush will suit her skin tone well, so I'm gonna add that to both her cheeks, and instead of using the blender tool to really blend it, I'm just gonna kind of cheat a little, and I'm gonna use Gaussian blur. Then after that, I'll kind of use the blender tool to spread it in areas that I feel like it could use a little more pink on. You can also duplicate the layer just to mess with the intensity of it. But I'm gonna mess with the opacity on the duplicated layer, and then once I have it perfect, I'll merge them back together. That little sound you just heard wasn't a fart, it was my dog, I promise. Okay, so now I'm gonna add some color to the lips. So after you've filled in the lip color, if you don't feel 100% satisfied, you can always go to adjustments and change the hue of the color if you want to add a bit more pink or a bit more orange, depending on, whatever color you chose for her lips. Okay, so the next part that I am working on is the hair. I was originally going to make her hair like a white color, so I'm just showing you as an example what I would do to make her hair white, and this also works with black, only because when I add either of those colors, obviously under the underpainting, you can see the red poking out. So I begin using the lasso tool to select the entire head area, and I lower the saturation, which automatically gives her the white hair. So I decided to not do the white, and I am going to be coloring under that layer, renaming that layer hair, and as you can see, the area is still selected, and I'm going to add some color to that whole entire selected area. And I couldn't decide what color to make her hair, so I just laid down a color. So now that I have blended the edges and melted in with the rest of the drawing, I'm going to use hue on the hair so I can begin figuring out which color I want to put on my character. So another thing I wanted to add onto the skin is called the Terminator. If you don't know what that is, it's basically like a more glowy effect. So as you can see here, I'm gonna add it to the parts that separate the light and dark areas of the skin. So using the brush soft tapered blender, I'm going to be taking an orangey kind of color, and I'm gonna apply that to the parts of the face where the dark and the light meet. And as you can see, it gives it a nice like glowy, sun-kissed, fleshy look. And you can also go to hues and mess with the colors if it's just not fitting right with the skin tone or the environment. And by the way, if you are interested in any of the brushes that I used for this coloring process, they will be linked below. Alright, so this next layer is also completely optional. This is just a layer where I'd be adding makeup, so things like eyeshadow, or I don't know, if you're doing like a clown or something, this is where I would add like some of the base makeup for that, or even tattoos at that point. This layer would consist of me coloring in accessories such as jewelry. This next layer would be coloring clothes. In this case, it's super simple since she's just wearing a normal t-shirt, and I would color it in just any random color, and again with hue I would see which color suits it best. I think all of them are ugly, so I just made it black, and I am melting that layer with the other one so everything blends well. This is how all the colors look so far under that initial underpainting, which looks crazy. All the colors are super light, as you can see. The good thing about having all of the colors separated is you can still go back and adjust any layer that you want, whether it's brightening it, darkening it, completely changing the color if you change your mind, and you just still have that chance to just fix something before you start like merging layers together and rendering further. So that was it for this video, you guys. I really hope that you learned something out of it, and if you want to take a drawing like this to the next level in 6 steps, please check out one of my older videos. I will put it right at the end of this video. So thank you so much for watching. Bye!